Welcome to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. Of course, I'm your host, JJ Kitchen. Before we get into the topic of today, the WVU versus Pitt recap, really what went wrong, what can be corrected, and what's really on this coaching staff, including Pat Narduzzi, after a heartbreaking close loss to West Virginia down in Morgantown yesterday. But before we get into the video, guys, please subscribe down below. The channel is growing at a rapid rate because of you guys and the support that you guys give to the channel. But more importantly, the questions that you guys give, the comments in the sections. But also, too, you've done a great job sharing the videos, but more importantly, engaging with the videos. So, again, thank you guys. But as we get into the topic of today, obviously not what we planned for yesterday. West Virginia beats Pitt 17-6. It was a close game, but overall, guys, the results are based off of really bad offensive play, but more importantly from the quarterback, Phil Dracovic. And guys, really just going to get into it. This team truly does have a lot of talent. And it's shown. The defense has shown how good it is, even with how much pressure Pat Narduzzi puts on it. But today I really want to start off with the obvious question and what's really on everybody's mind at this point, and that's Phil Dracovic. Guys, taking notes, and then obviously I rewatched the game again last night, and just to look at the tape and to see what was missing. Was there potentially something that I missed in terms of watching the game? Was I too critical of certain points, or was I being too critical in terms of the offense? And one of the things that really stood out to me, guys, is just when you look at the body language of Phil Dracovic, okay? Look at the first drive, for example. The first drive, they go all the way down the field. They're running the ball at will, which I talked about earlier in the week about how, I thought West Virginia's, defensive line was good, but certainly not as good as last year's because guys like Jefferson who left and Dante Stills, who I think was the anchor of that defensive line. But it was right. They weren't as good as last year. Pitt moves the ball easily down the field. Rodney Hammond starts the game like we thought he would. Looked tremendous in the first drive, takes it all the way down to the West Virginia 3, but doesn't put points up. And Pitt settles for 3 points. One of the things I talked about during the game is, man, I was really shocked, not on second down or even third down to even try to throw the ball into the end zone. I thought it was crazy to watch that and think, okay, hey, eventually we're going to have to open it up. I mean, we're facing West Virginia, who has one of the worst defensive schemes, especially their defensive backs are horrible. I think the ratings, it's like 4th or 5th worst in the country. Eventually Pitt's going to have to open it up eventually, just not stay one dimensional. You want to be able to do both, and they'd have a lot of success. We found out why they didn't want to throw the football. Phil, his first pass was Konate Mumfield, rolls out, makes a good throw to Konate. It's about 6-7 yards. It looks good. But really the second throw of the game, and this is the eclipse of what really Phil Dracovic has been. And again, I'm going to raise my hand and say, look, I was wrong. The first game of the year, it was 17-21. Hey, I had no problems with it. There were certainly some bad passes, but I was still enthusiastic about it. I thought the guy would still be good. There is no reason why this young man should be starting for Pitt next week against North Carolina. And really the second drive really says it all. Okay. How, and when you look at, a pro-style offense, okay, you have your check down, and they're all based on levels, especially, too, when you have these routes, okay? And when I watched the tape on Phil Dracovic's first interception, okay, he had Rodney Hammond as a check down, okay? And it was clearly he's about 6-7 yards downfield, easily has room to run behind him, clearly. So if you have nobody open downfield, which at the second level was Konate Mumfield, the third level was Bub Means, where really Bub Means was one-on-one, Konate Mumfield in triple coverage, or Rodney Hammond, who has really nobody around him. So it's an easy gig. You're one-on-one, but your best bet is to go to Rodney Hammond right down as your check down. He's able to probably pick up at least 10 or 20 yards because nobody's around him. What does Phil Dracovic do? Phil Dracovic throws it into triple coverage, nowhere near Konate Mumfield, and throws an interception. His body language just after that. One, just reading the coverages. Let's just say, to take Konate Mumfield out of the equation, say you don't even want to throw it to the check down. At least throw it up to Bub Means, who's one-on-one down the field, has a step on his defensive back. and let the guy go make a play. Instead, you throw it into triple coverage. And it wasn't even like it was remotely close. I mean, it's completely behind Konate Mumfield and just thrown for an interception. That was beyond crazy to me. But then as soon as he's walking off the field, just his body language. And even the color analysts were even saying, hey, guys, I think it was McDonough that originally said it. His body language, you can tell, he's just not into it. He's just not there. So that was number one. And you knew what kind of night it was going to be. And then on top of that, in the second drive, obviously, Pitt defense does a great job, has West Virginia go 3-and-out on its first drive. Garrett Green goes 0 for 2. Between the 0 for 1 in the first drive, they punt. The second drive, Garrett Green comes out. They go for it on fourth down. They don't get it. Garrett Green ends up getting hurt in the game. And really what I talked about during the week, too, I didn't expect West Virginia to have a good passing game. And obviously, Nico Marchiol was a guy, obviously he's a lefty. He's different guy, different from Garrett Green. I think Nico Marchiol certainly can run, was able to show that a little bit. But this is a guy that was competing with Garrett Green to the end, apparently. He was no much better. And I think in the media, they talked about it's like basically like two mid-offs. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, West Virginia's offense did not look good. But the one credit I give to Neil Brown is that he knew he couldn't throw the football. So he stuck to the run game and had some success and was able to give the ball to C.J. Donaldson. And I still think, the defense did a hell of a job for Pitt, but at least there's some type of a game plan to say, hey, after a couple throws from Nico Marchiol, where he had a guy open on us, it caught Pitt, especially on the back end. Wide receiver had actually a couple steps on top of the defensive back. I think it was Donovan McMillan at the time. But Nico Marchiol threw it like 10 yards out of bounds. So we knew what kind of offense we were going to be facing here. It was going to be clear. They're going to be trying to run the football the rest of the night. If our offense can have a little bit of success, have the continued success it's having on the ground, but have some success in the air, I mean, the game should be ours regardless. That's not what happened. I mean, Phil Dracovic just looked horrendous, and it continued to look horrendous as the game went on. At halftime, it was 7-6. We didn't complete the first drive where it should have been a touchdown. We didn't get to it. It's still 7-3. It's still 3-0. Then we go down the field eventually, and it's now 7-6 going into halftime. At that point, under no circumstance should Phil Dracovic could have come out and started the second half. That's lack of leadership on Pat Narduzzi. The greatest coaches in the country, if something's not working, you need to change it. And in his post-game presser, he says to the media, well, you guys always want to pull a guy real quick. You never want to go with somebody else. Pat, you're the same guy that pulled Jason Collier after one game. Jason Collier was a starter week 1. You put B.J. Williams in game 2 because he was the better option. So if you're willing to do that with the offensive line, how can you not do that with the quarterback room? I mean, and the statistics are absolutely just horrendous. Phil Dracovic, 8 of 20, under 50% again, 81 yards passing. Horrendous. Compared to what Nico Marchiol, 6 of 9, 60 yards. He started for 3.5 quarters. He looked horrible anyways, but at least they were able to have a game plan where they stuck to run the football. Phil Dracovic just looked horrendous the entire game. And it was clear. First off, and the way that I looked at this game was pretty simple. This game plan by Frank Cignetti, their game plan to go into Morgantown was to keep it close the entire game, not have to throw as much as possible, and to run the football. Where have we seen that game plan before? Let me think. I think the last time they did that was in 2021. Oh, yeah. Western Michigan. That was the game plan versus Western Michigan. Who started that game, by the way? Oh, yeah. Nate Yarnell. If this was the game plan and you knew you were not going to have success in the passing game, why do you not start Christian Veyer or Nate Yarnell? Nate Yarnell can do this. Nate Yarnell passes the ball 10 times better than Phil Dracovic. I am just at a loss of words for this lack of coaching. And I feel bad because really Pitt's in two different worlds right now. Their defensive staff, coaching lights out, playing lights out, they're doing their job. And then you have the offensive staff, whether it's Frank Cignetti, Andre Powell, Tim Salem, Taekwon Underwood. What are you doing? How can your game plan in Power 5 football be to run the ball at all costs, avoid throwing the football, and then when you do, you throw the football, and on your third or fourth pass, you throw an interception. On top of that, 2 more after that. How is that a game plan for success? How is that a game plan to utilize your players? And the crazy thing is, Pitt has a lot of talent. Yeah, Konate Mumfield had a couple drops. Bub had a drop. Okay. But if you don't throw it enough, and you don't let these guys actually get a shot to go catch the ball, how can you judge them? That's why I'm not even upset with the wide receivers, because these passes are horrendous. The game plan is horrendous. I know I saw some stuff this past weekend. Well, maybe it wasn't Keaton Slovis after all. I don't think it was Keaton completely to an extent, but at the same time, though, he just wasn't a good fit for the scheme anyways. I just think you have other guys on this roster, Christian Veilleux or Nate Yarnell, that is completely 110% better than Phil Dracovic. But even after the first half, this kid came out and just didn't have it. Couldn't even throw a screen pass. If he's mentally not in the game and he can't go out there and play and he has no confidence, first off, as a head football coach, how can you put that kid back out there? You're putting that kid in danger of getting killed. That's a lack of a head coaching position. That's on Pat Narduzzi. And I don't want to hear about this loyalty stuff or whatever's going on behind the scenes. If the kid doesn't have it, he should not be playing. You're on the road in a hostile environment. How is that fair? First off, to Phil Dracovic, because one, he can't play. His head's not there. Even the body language. He's walking off the field, his head's down, he's shaking his head. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy are in the booth saying clearly, he don't have it. And they said eventually, you would think you want to start throwing the football and trying to go deep on West Virginia, because they have one of the worst defenses in the country, especially pass defense. But every time you try, the guy's throwing a pick. Maybe if a good head coach would understand, or a good offensive coordinator would understand, you put another guy in. And the question you should be asking yourself, and it should have been Pat to Frank Signetti, do you trust this guy to throw the ball 20 to 30 times a game right now and not throw an interception? And Frank Signetti's answer should have been, hell no. Well, okay, let's change it up. And halftime was the perfect time to do it. It was 7-6. 7-6. Your defense is playing lights out. All the pressure, the turnovers, everything. They're playing lights out. And you put more pressure on your defense. It's just inexcusable. It's inexcusable to put that kid back out there. It's inexcusable. The kid could potentially get hurt because he's mentally not in the game. You're not facing Wofford. You're not. And how are you helping the kid's confidence? By saying, oh, yeah, we trust him. We trust him. We trust him. He don't trust himself. If he don't trust himself to make the simplest reads, how can you expect him to go out there and perform? And if anything, you're making it worse. You're making it worse because now the fan bases are crushing this kid. And by no stretch of the imagination do I think Phil's a bad kid. I think he's a great kid. But your job as a coach is to protect the kid. So take him out of the game. I can live with it. I think the fan base would agree. Tell me in the comments. Would you be able to handle a loss to West Virginia if your starting quarterback is not working out, but at least you tried? You at least had tried Christian Veilleux or Nate Yarnell, or hell, both. I know I would. But instead, you put the kid back out there, clearly scared shitless, has no idea what's going on, and you put him back out there. And the game is within reach the entire time. West Virginia couldn't get it together on offense, too. By no stretch of the imagination is West Virginia a good football team. They're not. You allowed them to stay in the game and allowed them to make less mistakes. And that's why I give Neil Brown credit. He made sure he understood, hey, we're not going to be able to throw the football tonight at all. So we're going to stick to the run game. We're going to make sure we minimize mistakes. Nikhil Markiel made less mistakes because Neil Brown understood, man, can't allow this guy to throw the football a lot. Can't do it. West Virginia didn't make more plays. They made less mistakes. And the less mistakes added up to 17 points, which is, and technically, in reality, Pitt's offense really only gave up, in reality, 10 points because we allowed the 7 points because of the offensive turnover after getting the turnover that the defense got. I just think it's criminal for what Pat Narduzzi has done to the quarterback room, and it's a constant reminder of what last year was. I understand that Nick Patty wasn't going to be a totally better quarterback, but clearly Slovis didn't have it at times. He didn't have it at times. It wasn't a good fit and a good scheme for him. Maybe make a change, whatever. But this year, it's 10 times worse. It's 10 times worse. I mean, the guy cannot complete passes. The forward pass is at disadvantage. It's wild to me. Under no circumstance should Phil Jurkovec start next week. If you are really in for protecting the player, he should not start. Under no circumstance. Christian Veilleux and Nate Yarnell. And if Christian's your backup, you go with Christian. Or you have a quarterback competition between Christian and Nate. Because now you're going to ACC play against North Carolina on a Saturday night. And you have no idea who your quarterback is. You have no idea what you have. I can tell you this. I trust Nate Yarnell and Christian Veilleux 10 times more. One, because I've actually seen Nate Yarnell actually work in this offense. Nate Yarnell actually won a game last year. And I don't care if it's against Western Michigan or at Western Michigan or whatever. The kid was in the offense and performed the offense to a T. Made hell of good throws to his receivers and his tight ends. What could you possibly be worried about? And on top of that, think about just the objections to putting another quarterback in. Well, maybe he can't run the offense. I didn't think he can handle the pressure. Well, the guy you had starting there couldn't run the offense and couldn't handle the pressure. So what the hell do you have to lose? And I feel bad for the players because they're working their asses off and there's talent there and wide receivers are running free. Go back and watch the game. Guys were open. They were open. He missed them. They need to do a better job. These guys need to be coaches. They need to be leaders. And it's lacking. Make the corrections. Make the corrections. Do not make the same competitive mistake. Because here's the thing. Pitt's sitting at 1-2 right now. Your opportunity is right now to change that quarterback room and make a quarterback change and potentially change the season. Because that's all they're missing. And something else that we're going to get to here in a second. You need to change the quarterback now. Or this is a 2-10 or 3-9 football team. The choice is yours. Be a leader. Be the CEO that you're supposed to be. Make the change. When you see a problem, you create a solution, not see a problem and then add on to the problem. Because in the real world, you get fired for that. See a problem, make the correction. It's pretty simple. You pick a different quarterback. This guy can't have it. I understand Slovis to an extent last year. At least he was still completing passes. There were still guys there. They still won 9 games. I got it. Pitt will not win 2 or 3 games this year if this guy continues to play. He cannot complete a guaranteed pass. It's that simple. Which leads me into my second point. The running back room rotation. To start the game, Pitt is running the ball at will. Moving, and I mean moving, West Virginia's defensive line. Just destroying them. All the way down the field. Not one pass play on the first drive. Why is Rodney Hammond just completely gone from the game plan after that? Why are you rotating in Sebo Flemister and Daniel Carter after that? Maybe on a 3rd down and long, you take out Roddy to put somebody else in and to understand, okay, you have pass pros or they're running a route. That's understandable. Why are you taking Rodney Hammond out? To go over the stats here, 14 carries for 49 yards. The guy only touched the football 14 times. Phil Dracovic had to run for 11 times 35 yards. Sebo Flemister, 6 carries. Daniel Carter, 4 carries. And here's the thing about the quarterback play, too. He had plenty of time. The offensive line was completely fine. The offensive line played well. He had plenty of time. West Virginia had 1 sack. That was it. The pressure was limited. He had time to throw, and he still couldn't do it. Now with the running game, you had it going in the first quarter, and then you completely get away from Rodney Hammond. Why? The play calling, the quarterback play, it just doesn't make sense. There's a lot to be desired for in this offense. That's for sure, especially play calling. But we've seen it work. You need a different quarterback in there, and then as you saw later on in the game, the running game became restricted because we couldn't throw the football. And what did Pat Narduzzi say in the beginning of the week? We can't be one-dimensional. We have to be two-dimensional, or else they're going to be able to key on us. Well, Pat, you went in completely with a game plan going into as one-dimensional. This needs to be better. The defensive staff has great coaches that make adjustments. I cannot say the same for the offensive staff. You wanted more of a 50-50 offense and a 50-50 split, whatever. God bless you. God bless you. It's understandable, especially because we lacked talent in the passing game last year. And potentially with Slovis, who knows what would have happened with Mark Whipple. Mark Whipple, obviously not even in college football or the NFL right now. He's out of football completely. After the disaster at Nebraska. But why? Why a drastic change? And this offense has worked at times, but you need quarterback play. In college football, if you do not have a quarterback, you will never win. You will never win. The same thing with the running back room. If you need that one guy, and that's Rodney Hammond. He proved it on the first drive. Going forward, Rodney should be your starter, and he should get the majority of the carries. It's 100%. That needs to happen. Why it was getting away from that and why that needs to be talked about, no idea. No idea what the rotation is and what Andre Powell's doing. Clueless in what terms of what they're doing there. So some great news. The defense played great. And some guys that I really wanted to point out in this game, okay, just from the notes that I have here, just some notes here. Let me see here. Okay, number 1, guys like Donovan McMillan. Guys, I can tell you this right now, that's going to be their starting safety as we go out to the rest of the year. That guy played lights out. Let's see, 18 total, 18 tackles, 9 solo. The guy played his heart out, lights out at the safety position. That guy is going to be the starter going forward. I thought he played a tremendous game, was physical, was tough. I mean, that's what you wanted to see out of this defense. And again, everybody played well. But number 2, I wanted to talk about Braylon Lovelace. Made a couple mistakes in the game. But when Bengali Kamara got rolled up on, went out of the game, I thought for a true freshman, he played really well. And again, not shocked. It's the defense. Played well, did a great job. I thought the defensive line did great. David Green, I thought he did really good. Brandon George had 9 tackles, 4 solo tackles. David Green, 7 tackles. Bam Brema, 5 tackles, fumble recovery. Just, it was really, really good. Shane Simon, I thought, now his 3rd game of the year, had his best game. Wasn't guessing this game. Last game you saw against Cincinnati was a lot of guessing. It was kind of like he was going left to right. He didn't know what he was doing, where he was going. This game, he played tremendous. Understood where the assignments were. It's almost like he knew exactly which plays were coming, especially on some of the redirections and the RPOs. He did a tremendous job. Okay. But the one thing I wanted to talk about too is, also Solomon DeShields, 8 tackles, 4 solo. When you had the defense out there that long, they only give up 17 points. But when they're on the field for that long, they're going to give up some yards, especially in the run game. C.J. Donaldson, who was their best running back, and again, I expected him to get more yards in this game for sure. I knew he was going to get more carries. He did well, 18 carries for 102 yards. But overall, this defense gave up 211 yards, which matched Pitt. Pitt had 211 yards of total offense. Both of these offenses were absolutely horrendous, just horrendous the entire time. It was kind of the battle of who's going to make more mistakes, and that was Pitt. And that's why I give West Virginia credit, and why they won the game is because they made less mistakes. Less mistakes won this game, and West Virginia did a good job with that. It's that simple. But when you look at these two offenses collectively, it was just an absolute, it's just a crapshoot. I mean, I was back here in Pittsburgh watching the game with plenty of my good friends from Pitt. Obviously, had a couple West Virginia friends that are dear friends of mine. We watched the game together. Even they said, our offense has major, major issues. Okay. And I understand Garrett Green went out of the game, but it's not like he was an elite passer to begin with, too. Nico Marchiol was supposed to be the better passer of the two, and he looked absolutely horrendous. So when you look at these two offenses, horrible. But West Virginia made less mistakes. Their head coach outcoached Pat Narduzzi. He made sure he had a game plan that was going to work and would lead them to victory that night. We'll see what they do the rest of the year, because especially in the Big 12, they're going to throw the football. No doubt about that. But on this night, he had a good game plan. He understood what was in play. They threw a couple balls. He obviously completed 6 passes, but there was a couple throws just where it looked like Cherkovic throwing. It was just like 10, 15 yards. The one that he had, again, in the beginning of the game where it was a post route where, had a couple steps on Donovan McMillan, was just 10 yards out of bounds. It had no chance of even being caught. But they made less mistakes. And this defense was out there for so long, and they still only gave up 211 yards of total offense. The defense is fine. And again, I said that even from last week, they would make the corrections. They would look good again. And I was right. But the offense has not done anything. The coaching staff for the offensive side of the football has done nothing and has been repetitive. So the defense, I hope they keep it up this year, because we're going to need them, and if there's no quarterback change or anything. But this defense has done its job. To a T, 110%. And I think they're going to continue to get better. I really do. And I think there's a lot of talent on that side of the football. I expect them to continue to keep it going. But this leads me to my last point. And this is really the focal point of what this team will look like going forward. And especially starting this weekend against North Carolina, who's ranked, has a Heisman candidate in Drake May. Beat Minnesota this past weekend. North Carolina 3-0. They're ranked in the top 25, which, again, Pitt has 4 more teams ranked in the top 25. North Carolina, Notre Dame, Florida State, and Duke. The schedule does not get easier. It does not get easier. And potentially some more teams in the ACC getting ranked, because the ACC is having a hell of a year over the Big 12, the ACC, and even the majority of the Big 10 teams. The top Big 10 teams right now, Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, are all in there right now. But ACC is doing a hell of a job this year. Pitt's not holding up its end of the bargain. But I can tell you this. Pat Narduzzi, Frank Signetti, and the entire offensive staff, we're going to find out what type of leaders these guys are. I can tell you this, those players in that locker room, okay, they had to give the coach speak at the end of the game yesterday. You're not going to trash, which I completely 100% agree with. And that's good teammates. Never, ever, ever talk negatively about your teammates or anything in terms of the media, ever. They're a close team, and that's why. But this team, behind closed doors, is pissed. Because this team should not be 1-2. This team should be 2-1 or 3-0 right now with competent quarterback play. This week, Pat Narduzzi and Frank Signetti better come out and have an idea. And I know we're going to get the spiel of a lifetime from Narduzzi, and it's not one guy, it's everybody, whatever, here we go, whatever. Say what you want during the week. But come Friday or come Thursday or Friday, or I don't even care, Saturday morning, there better be something put out, and from some source that I'll probably hear from, that Christian Veilleux or Nate Yarnell is starting that game. Because if Phil Jurkovec goes out there, he's going to get booed relentlessly. And you're only hurting the kid. You're only hurting the athlete on your team. He's not there mentally anymore. He's lost all confidence. Pat Narduzzi and Frank Signetti need to protect this player. Need to protect Phil Jurkovec, because right now he doesn't have it. And by throwing him out there to the Wolves is not going to make things better. It's not going to help you out win this game. It's not going to help Pitt win 8 or 9 games this year. It's not going to help this team and improve its morale. Protect the player. It was a great story when he came home. It's a great story. And I know Pitt fans, for instance, and I'm a fair guy. I call it like what it is. He did not shun us twice. He shunned us once, okay, going to Notre Dame. Any player in the country would have gone to Boston College to start right away. They would have not sat behind Kenny Pickett. On top of that, too, Phil Dracovic not picking Pitt is A-okay because we had Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett won the ACC championship game in 2021. We can stop that. Focus on this year. He has not performed this year. That's what it should be based off of, not the garbage that happened before. This year, it's that simple. This year, he is a player that is not performing, and the comments towards the fans on how he played and he got booed at. 100% fair. Right now, Pat Narduzzi needs to be a leader and bench this kid. And to save the kid from any more booing, anything else like that, Phil had a good run. He played well in 2020, 2021, the majority of 2022. For some reason, he just doesn't have it. Doesn't have it anymore. It happens. But right now, you need to put Christian Veilleux or Nate Yarnell in. And I'm comfortable with either one of them. Because both of them can play. And especially Nate Yarnell, who has proven he can make plays in a game. You need to protect the player. But more importantly, you need to keep the morale of this team together. You lost a very, very close game with West Virginia, a rival, no doubt. Very heated one. You get on the bus, you go home. But now's the time to say, okay, we're 1-2. You've got 9 games left this year. Great opponents on the schedule. Now is the time to allow one of these quarterbacks to get in the game and to allow themselves to really make themselves a starting quarterback. There's no reason to put Phil Dracovic back out there. Make the right choice. Allow these guys to get comfortable in the offense now before you get down the road and you lose any more games. Make the right decision. Don't be stubborn. Don't do anything else besides that. Be comfortable and allow one of these 2 guys to start and keep the morale high on this team. There's a reason why, and especially to the fans, we not me mean something. To the fans, even though it's tough, you still got to support the rest of the guys on the team. Just because you don't like Dracovic for the numerous reasons or what Pat Narduzzi's doing, the defense is still playing its ass off. You still got to support them. You still got to support the offensive line that's been fighting for its tails. You got to support Rodney Hammond in the running back room. You got to support the wide receiver room. Plenty of guys on this staff. Guys like Charlie Partridge. You got to continue to support this team. 1-2. It's 3 games. If they make the correct changes, things can change. But I can tell you this right now. There's plenty of these players. I can tell you right now for a fact. They're busting their ass in practice. They're busting their ass in the film room. Support these players. They truly deserve it. They're working their tails off. Don't give up on the kids for no reason or the student athletes for any other reason besides, well, I'm pissed off at Pat Narduzzi. I'm pissed off at him too, but I'll still be there on Saturday facing them, rooting for them against North Carolina because the rest of those guys in that team bust their ass. Jake Cradle, a senior. Blake Subovic, a senior. Matt Gonsalves, a senior. Dayon Hayes, a senior. David Green. Devin Danielson. MJ Devonshire. Marquez Williams. All seniors. Go support those guys. There's no reason to stop supporting those guys. None. And the same goes for Alliance 412. No reason for anybody not to keep supporting that because that's what's going to keep Pitt competitive in terms of the market and who's all out there and for the future of who we need to go after and get. Some people aren't going to want to hear that. Don't care. Don't really care. I'm going to give you the truth whether you like it or not. You got to continue to support the program. It's been a damn good program the past 2 to 3 years. It's a minor slip up right now. They made the correction in terms of 2 positions. The tide changes. Keep supporting them. That's simple. Guys, if you like the video, if you dislike the video, like the video, don't like it, or dislike it, whatever. Also, leave comments down below. Please subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts. Was I right? Was I wrong? I always like to see the acceptance or the criticism. Plenty of criticism about Phil Dracovic, so I'll be hearing more about anything else. But I can tell you this: I want to hear your thoughts. Truly, what do you think going forward? Who do you want to start a quarterback? What do you think the running back room should look like? What do you think of the defense? Was it as good as I think it is? Do you think there's improvements in some certain places that you want to see that? But more importantly, what are some of the other content and things and stuff that you guys want to see? Because I truly value your opinion. That's why I love putting this stuff out. That's why I like talking about this. And more importantly, that's why I love talking about college football. So, guys, again, thank you guys for listening. I love how passionate our fan base is. It really is. And it's going to continue to grow. Just hang on tight. That's all you got to do. Keep supporting the team and keep pushing. Keep pushing forward. It's all you can do. I can tell you this, as Winston Churchill once said, one of the most famous people and person I wish I could have met to have a conversation with. Winston Churchill once said, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Looks dark now. Look forward. Look forward now. Let's go beat UNC this week. Guys, thank you for everything you guys do in supporting the channel. You guys are the best. And as always and forever, hail to Pitt. I'll see you guys soon.